Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Batwoman. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, obviously our first show back after the events of Crisis. The fact of the matter is, it's pretty dope that she's on a bike and everything, because she wanted to kind of get something similar to her as Kate, but also just kind of something, as Batwoman too, so that's pretty badass. But luckily, they're able. She is able to stop a runaway train. But then but luckily, a GCPD officer was able to get her out of the way. But then that kind of goes viral because she's like, "Oh, great!" Because now it looks like everyone's kind of like, "Oh, trying to put it together," because they're making him Captain America, which I think is interesting. I wonder, is that kind of like a little wink and nod? Well, I mean, I get it because it's like, oh, because he looks a little like Chris Evans like. But I'm also wondering, is it just because like, do those two, like Batman and Captain America, ever get like pitted against each other, like Marvel to DC wise? I don't know, like, because I'm probably reading too much into it. But obviously for Kate, this hits her a different way because it's kind of like, yeah, she's like, because she even tells Luke, it's like, I don't know if you recognize, but I'm super gay. But for Luke, it's like, yeah, but the fact is, that's who you are. The least like you are to Batwoman, the less likely people are suspect. But for her, it's like, because that's always been something for Kate. It's like, I've always embraced who I am. I've never shied away from being gay. And, I've always accepted that side of myself wholeheartedly. And to kind of be in this position where it's like, as Batwoman, she has to kind of pretend to be someone that she's not, even if it's for the sake of, keeping her identity. She feels like, it's an extra layer of lying. But Luke had brought it up, like, it kind of comes with its territory because, like, Bruce kept up that facade of being like, oh, rich playboy, like, oh, he doesn't have a care in the world, he's just some rich douchebag. No one would suspect that he's Batman. It's kind of that same thing. But especially because that all ended up, kind of rattling more in Kate's mind than when she ran into Sophie, because we saw Sophie beating the crap out of a suspect. I was like, wow, you were going hardcore, aren't you? And it's like, because she's dealing with the fact that Tyler ended up leaving her. He said he would. Like, he's like, maybe I'll wait for you, maybe I won't. But it seems like he didn't. He left. And now, because she kind of was like, am I lying? Because, like, Tyler kept saying that she was lying to herself. And then Batwoman's like, well, are you? And, Batwoman's like, we all wear masks. Maybe it's time for you to take yours off, which she's like, isn't that ironic coming from you? So it is that situation that now she's starting to wonder, like, because she is someone who literally hides out in the shadows and everything. So it's like, am I a fraud in any shape or form? But it's like, you wear that mask to protect Gotham. Like, obviously, like, if you were too much like yourself, it'd make it so easy for people to connect that Kate Kane is Batwoman. But I love what she was saying, like, basically what she learned from Crisis. She is the paragon of courage. And she's like, if I don't kind of embrace, like, all of me, even through being Batwoman, then, like, if I don't have the courage to just be myself, then it kind of defeats the purpose a little bit. And I love him being like, yeah, after everything you went through, the battle for, like, the Infinite Earth getting destroyed, I'm like, losing my mind. I'm like, I love it when they reference. I don't know why, I get giddy because it's just when you're referencing stuff. Side note, it was an interesting reference they had dropped that basically they were saying, like, oh yeah, the trains had to make a shift because of Scarecrow. So they're like, oh, so Scarecrow exists in this continuity. But I just thought that was kind of a really interesting, like, I like little nuggets like that dropping in, like, letting you know, without making a big deal out of it, kind of referencing, like, okay, letting you know what villains exist in this continuity. So that was just kind of an interesting thing. But at the same time, this was, because the train thing turns out that's connected to a hacker who's kind of making a spectacle in Gotham. Is like, pay like $5 million or I start exposing everyone's secrets, including a certain Cape Crusader. So it's like, even Batwoman kind of gets dragged into this, to the point that Luke starts turning off all the computers and stuff, because last thing he wants is them to be hacked. And it's like, she's like, all right, so this device that was messing with the train, maybe we can follow. He's like, yeah, but, and then she's messing with he's like, don't do that. She's like, and she turns it on. He's like, all right, fine, for 5 minutes. She's like, okay. But luckily they found it back. It led to a high school, because it turns out the person behind all this is a teenage girl who basically she was the girl on the train. Her name's Parker. She wanted to put herself in that position so that, like, oh, if she was at least a little bit in danger, her family would be more like to be like, oh, like, look at her more caringly, rather than looking at her like she's a freak or something. Because they end up, like, basically an ex of hers ended up outing her because it's like, oh, like hiding who you are, you know, because I get that mentality, because I'm like that. I've been like that, where I was like, oh, if you're gay, like openly, you know, tell, you know, you should never be ashamed of it, which is, yes, you never should be, but you can't tell someone when they should come out. Like, it has to be an environment which they're comfortable in. And I think that's something I've kind of learned even more as I've grown up, because I've always been like, you know, if someone doesn't accept you as you are, fuck them. But it's like, nah, especially when it comes to family, like, you know, it's just kind of like, you want to be, because I think it's more impactful when it comes from the person themselves. It, you know, that you know, because that's not the easiest thing to, like, you know, I mean, once again, I can never understand being in that position of like, you know, having to hide a part of yourself like that. I can't imagine going through that, you know, and so for her, like having her ex be the one that kind of like outed her too, and it's like, here you are, you're kind of a symbol for everyone. I'm sure you were popular in school, like you can't understand what I'm going through, because, you know, Parker kind of legitimately hates herself, and it's like, because no one can really understand her, and like I said, the way her parents looked at her, so she did all this because she was trying to get attention. She was hoping, hey, if I was near death, maybe my parents look at me differently. Apparently they didn't, but the 5 mil was just kind of like, I need to get the hell out of Gotham. It's just like, I need to get away, you know, just, you know, and it's a sad situation where she feels like she has to run away, you know. So, and obviously, you know, Kate, being who she is, feels sympathetic, but obviously she can't say too much. Because all while this is going down, she's got the complicated thing where her Mary isn't really talking to her. Like every time she's trying to talk to Mary, and it's like, oh, we can work together. It's like, no, me and Dad, we got this covered on the lawyer department and all this and that. Getting someone to kind of prove that what Mouse is able to do, kind of put on people's faces and make it look real. That is a thing. Like trying to prove all that. It was interesting because the scientist or whatever that she went to, that actor, I was like, because I see him from time to time, I was like, what is that I know him from? It's like, stupid. I'm so stupid. CW connection wise, he played Michael, the father of the Michelsons, all the kids. Well, I say all the kids, but he was literally the father of everyone else except for Klaus, because obviously Klaus had a different dad. Regardless, that's what I know him from. So it's like, CW connection. But nevertheless, but he wouldn't listen to her, Mary, because it's like, oh, that sounds crazy. And if I'm immediately like, what do you mean it's Gotham? What do you mean someone who's able to perfectly make them? I'm like, how do you think that? It's like, right. I was like, I guess that depends on what villains exist in this continuity. But then I started thinking about, because we got like super villains in this continuity. We got, well, they've hinted the fact is that Mr. Freeze exists in this continuity. So Bane, but they, once again, you know, because obviously that's because of Elseworlds kind of hints that like those villains exist. Maybe because of Crisis, you can, you know, because Crisis also hints to like a Mr. Freeze as well. But in Crisis, Batman, you know, Bruce made reference to Jane Doe and Clayface, so it makes you wonder, does Clayface exist in this continuity? Because that's why I kept wondering, is Mouse supposed to be Clayface? But it's like, no, Clayface doesn't need to use skin. He can shift his clay body to look like anybody, so it's not a thing of like having to wear human flesh and like his whole, I guess if anything, his situation, because I think, well, because Bruce had made reference to a Jane Doe, I guess he's more, Mouse's situation is closer to a Jane Doe then, because he was like, oh, like you can make yourself look like someone else, like you're either Jane Doe or Clayface. That whole conversation. So I don't know. Like I said, maybe just certain villains just don't exist on this earth in this continuity. But whatever the case may be, so that was kind of the struggle there. But regardless, because literally other people, like, you know, you have it was Jacob and Sophie that were suggesting that Mary turn to Kate, because it's like, yo, especially Sophie was like, Kate's literally going through this, having lost her mom. It's like, yeah, but because it makes it so conflicted, it makes it hurt so much more that she can't turn to Kate in a time like this, because she's still pissed at Kate because Kate kept giving Alice chances over and over and over again. But then there was the whole thing of like, she thought she saw Kate at the, not Kate, but Alice at the university, and it's like, whoa, she called Sophia, but no one was there. So now it kind of seems like maybe she is kind of stressed because of this whole situation, and maybe she's seeing stuff that that's not necessarily there. So all the while that's going down, we also see that Alice showed up at the school and everything, I was like, she got over there pretty damn quick. But then when I was sitting there like, why was she at the school then? Why was she wearing her brown wig if she's just going to be here going after Kate? Because because her whole plan is because Mouse had told her, like, I don't think this is all going to work out the way you want it to. Like, because you think, like, by imploding Kate's life, she's going to turn to you. Because in Alice's twisted mind, it's like, oh, I got rid of our dad who didn't believe you when it was like, oh, I was still alive, or believe me when it came out that I was his daughter. And then it was like, Catherine, the woman who basically faked my death and everything. But it's also like, you know, your stepsister kind of got, you know, caught in the middle of all that. But, you know, obviously, like, Alice doesn't look at her as a stepsister. Obviously, she's more so Kate's a stepsister. But even then, it's just more sister than just stepsister, you know. But it's like, she's like, I've done everything for you, but why, you know, she doesn't understand why Kate, she's like, throw away this, like, thing of being a hero, get rid of the bat. It's like, this isn't you. The fact is, the real you would accept me as I am, and now it's forcing Parker, you know, because at first it's like, take off your mask, and she's like, reluctantly, Kate does so that Parker doesn't get hurt. And I love that Parker's like, holy crap, you're Kate Kane. So Kate's kind of a little bit of a celebrity because it's like, I go by your building like all the time. She's like, yeah, I think. And she's like, oh my God, I said all that stuff about you. And you're like, you know, because it's like, oh my God, your representation, you know, it's kind of like you're a fellow person, a part of the LGBTQ plus community. So I thought that was kind of a neat element of just kind of like, oh, like, you know, I mean, to be fair, it's like she's a part of a well-known family too, so it's like when Kate kind of got on the scene, it makes her name pops essentially just because of just like, you know, the family she's connected to, you know, probably just the connection to the Waynes, but also just the Kane family in general, especially everything that's going on more recently with Jacob and everything. But Alice is like, all right, now that I even love Alice sitting there being like, really? Shut up. What's happening right now? Why are you over here fangirling when you're supposed to be my captured victim? But then it's like, okay, I want you to release her identity publicly, let everyone know. And Kate was telling her to do it, but she didn't want to do it because, and I even loved her reason later on. It's like the reason she didn't do it is because she was kind of forced to be kind of outed before she was ready to be. So it's like, I wasn't about to do the same thing to you. Especially because it's like, if your identity's out there, all the people you care about are in danger, you won't be able to be Batwoman. And the fact of the matter is, Gotham needs you. You as Batwoman is so important. You are this city's symbol of hope, and we can't lose that now after we've gotten you, after not having a symbol of hope for 3 years, you know? So I thought that was kind of a beautiful thing. And obviously Parker manipulated everything, sending everyone else a different message, but sending the one to Alice to be like, oh yeah, like this is Kate's identity's out. But it was like letting the Crows as well as the school know that there was a bomb in there, there's C4 in there, and all that, you know, let the Crows know where she was. But the fact of the matter is, you know, but when she gets free and everything, you know, Kate doesn't hold back and just kind of punches her and clocks her up. But she's like, what are you doing? And I like that moment of being like, the fact of the matter is, you know, my sister Beth died, and maybe she would have been better off if she had stayed dead. She's like, what are you talking? And then like tries to touch Kate, but Kate grabs her arm because Kate's not looking at Alice as Beth. It's like, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm not going to let you be like my soft spot anymore. You're not my sister anymore, because the sister I knew would never become this. Whatever was left of Beth is not there anymore. All there is Alice, and that's who you are. And I'm not going to, you know, let that kind of sidetrack me anymore, especially after all that you've done. You can't be forgiven for what you've done. So I like that kind of, you know, I mean, I think that's kind of a thing that the Bats kind of have to deal with. Is the fact is that, hey, when that time comes, like, you kind of have to put your duties of protecting the city before your own feelings, you know. So, and it's like recognizing that Alice isn't her sister anymore. So I think that was kind of a powerful moment on its own. And also appreciate the fact is that Kate was able to save home dude, and everyone's like, kiss, 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 and he was about to kiss her. I'm like, which for one, I'm like, isn't that a little presumptuous? I mean, I guess because apparently they bumped into each other multiple times, not just a train situation. I'm like, that's kind of a little shitty of you just to kind of assume you should kiss her. I'm just saying, it's kind of, come on, bro. But if she's like, no, I don't think so. But then we got this thing, like, we see, like, there is a magazine cover later on that has Batwoman kind of revealing, you know, herself to, like, hey, I'm a lesbian, and At first, it says Catco, and I'm like, all right. I was like, let me guess, Carl wrote it. You look at the bottom with Carl there. I was like, of course. She turned to the one reporter she knows and she's pretty tight with, especially because everything's going to save Earth now. Yes. So I like that. It was pretty neat. I'm sure we're going to get even more of those things kind of weaved in. I even forgot to talk about it because they were talking about, like, especially because it's like after, because obviously words come out, they even open him with it at the beginning being like, about Oliver's death. So it's like, we're going to definitely be getting a lot more of that stuff weaving in of like, oh, here's some reminders. Don't forget, these shows are all on the same Earth now. So kind of keep that in mind. So little stuff like that can happen. Dude, I'm so damn giddy about that. So I lost my mind. I was like, Catco. I was like, it had to be written recorded. I lost my mind about that. But there was also a part of my mind that was wondering, just because she meets, Parker as like having to do community service and stuff like that. There's a part of me, legitimately, it's a joke. Some people is like, oh, make about like bats and stuff like that. Oh, I found some kid that needs help. Oh, let me lower and oh, here's an R. Yep, you're my new Robin. It's kind of like a stupid bit I've kind of picked up from people, but I kind of was wondering. I was like, I'm not, like I said, I'm not that familiar with Kate. I don't know if she has any sidekicks, like whether she has any Robins of her own. I've never seen that. I've never seen her have a Robin or a Batgirl. I mean, maybe she has allies. She probably has allies, but never, like, she probably doesn't have a sidekick equivalent. Maybe. I don't know. Probably just her interaction with the Bat family kind of compensates for that, regardless. But I was almost like, are they going to set Parker up to become like her new sidekick or something like that? It's like, I don't think so. But, I did like her being like, yeah, the fact of the matter is, yeah, things aren't always going to be okay, but they will be. The fact of the matter, it'll be kind of hard, but things will be okay. And if you need anyone to talk to about your family or anything, like, I'm here. And I'm like, I like that, because I like that Kate isn't, because it's like, you're one of the few people that knows who she is. And she's like, I know if you're worried about me telling anyone, she's like, I'm not worried. Like, she knows she can trust us. So I thought that was kind of pretty neat. I also even love that line of like, oh, like the person that was on the radio was like, yeah, she's gay, but it's like, I mean, not like there's a problem with that, but am I the only one that's kind of like, aren't we all about kind of keeping politics all our heroes? I'm like, I'm sure that's kind of like a wink and nod to a lot of people that are like, oh, the way out. It's like, I'm sure there's people who've kind of said that, literally that people have said that about things, and it's just like I think that has to be like a little wink and jab at people who kind of think like that. But regardless, I just thought that was kind of a funny line in my opinion. But nevertheless, but I do like. I'm curious at what that means, because now Sophie's probably thinking like, well, because more so than anything, because she kind of started feeling like a little bit of a fraud herself, that maybe she was hiding something. Now that Batwoman's outed herself, I'm curious to see what that means for Sophie, because I was wondering, is that going to be her thing? Well, because obviously she still is under the impression that Kate and Batwoman are two separate people. She didn't think that always, but obviously now she does. So now it's a thing of like, she's like, oh, if Batwoman can put herself out there despite wearing a mask, then maybe I have to start being a little more honest with myself. So what that means for her and Kate going forward, or what that just means for her in general going forward, I'm curious to see. Obviously it means a lot for Parker seeing that and being like, yeah, because it's like she wants someone that she doesn't want to feel like it's a thing. And it was even something Luke was saying, it's like, no, it's a good thing that you did this. Like, I know because she was like, I know you're worried that me putting myself out there like that, but it's like, no, it's a good thing, because this is going to inspire so many people to realize they're not alone, like it does Parker, So I thought that was just, a beautiful message in the episode. Obviously Sophie's got Alice and they're looking for Mouse. But, and then we had this moment where Mary is, obviously she's stressing out because like no doctor is listening to her about anything. And, Kate was there for her in that instant, and they hugged each other. It's like, it's probably going to take a little bit, but obviously them, repairing their relationship. Having Alice in cuffs now probably eases it just a tiny bit. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, like catching Alice and Mouse, it's not going to bring Catherine back. It is also super messed up that Alice was desecrating like Catherine's grave. I mean, like, you have your personal vendetta, but it's like, Jesus, that was. Along with all that, like I said, Sophie's questioning Alice, but whether that'll really get her anywhere, we'll see. And then there's our strange reveal at the end where it's like, wait, there's a brown-haired Beth there, and Kate's like, wait, who are you? And she's like, I'm your sister. Who else would I be? And it's like, Beth? So my mind starts racing in like a million miles an hour. I was like, okay, first of all, I'm like, is it Mouse? But I was like, well, we saw this Beth at the university, but I was like, why would she why would she be there then? You know, it's like that doesn't make any sense. So I was thinking mouse, but I'm like, why? I mean, not unless this is part of Alice's long plan. But then I'm like, I don't know. But then it starts coming. My brain starts thinking like, all right, this must have something to do with the multiverse because, well, remember on Earth 99, her sister was still alive. Well, at one point, like, because we know Kate died on Earth 99. You know, the one where she met the killer Batman. Kevin Conroy's Batman. But the fact of the matter is, in that continuity, Beth had never become Alice, and she still had the brown hair and everything. So it looks like this is that Kate. I mean, that looks like this is that Beth, but then it's like, so is this some, because we do know that there were some changes to this universe that not everyone is aware of. Like, once again, a great example would be Diggle. Diggle has a son and a daughter. That got changed because of Flashpoint, so now that kind of got undone, but more modified rather than undone, because he has both John and Sarah. So whether he would have had both of them in the original timeline before Flashpoint, who knows? But John Jr. replaced Sarah. So stuff like that where things have shifted, like Clark has 2 kids instead of just 1 now. So it's that situation of my point is, like, maybe when Oliver created this universe, he obviously added in some little stuff here and there. Maybe that included Kate's sister. Or, I mean, not unless we're doing like a Laurel Earth 2 type of situation of she just kind of popped over, like someone else brought her from another Earth here. I mean, granted, we don't, like, that's where my mind is. I mean, that's how Laurel kind of popped back into the show. It was like, oh, I popped up in the Flash, but oh, here I am in, was it season 5 of Arrow? Oh, it's Laurel again. It's like, how are you? Oh, because in actuality, you're Earth 2 Laurel. So maybe it's something similar to that. Don't know what to make of it. That seems like the multiverse stuff seems like the logical, but like I said, there's still a part of my brain like, is that Mouse? But she was tugging on the face and everything, so it's like, if it was Mouse, that would have come off. So it definitely has to be a multiverse thing, you would assume. But that's the crazy thing. She acts like her life is so normal, but literally everyone else in Kate's life knows that Alice is Beth. So that's why I'm like, because like it's not even just a Paragon thing of like, obviously she's the only one that, obviously her and the other Paragons were the only ones who originally remembered the original multiverse and everything that went down in Crisis. But this is different because everyone still remembers that. So that's why I'm curious if, it's definitely gonna be interesting to see where all this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. I'm ready to jump on like what the hell that's all about. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.